How you doing, everyone? Hey, no movies came out this week, so there was really nothing for me to review. I could have gone and seen If I gave a shit. The Batman is the fourth best Batman movie is the title of this video. Why? Well, plain and simple, that's my opinion. It's the fourth best Batman movie. Now, seeing as there are no new movies for me to review this week, I thought, well, I need to talk about something. And I randomly just watched The Batman the other day, and I was sitting there thinking, I made my YouTube channel after this movie came out, and I really want to talk about this movie. Because I love this movie, don't get me wrong. In saying it's the fourth best Batman movie, I'm not implying it's not good. Because you gotta understand, the Dark Knight trilogy, that's peak for me. That's God tier. The Batman is just below that. So that's still pretty damn good. You know, I was going to write a script for this review, but I'm not going to. I'm just gonna talk about the things that come to me first because I think that's important when reviewing movies. Movies are about feelings and how it impacts you, and I think putting too much thought into explaining movies takes away the meaning, the purpose, and the joy of movies. So I'm just gonna talk about why I love this movie and maybe compare it to the other Batman movies throughout time. In fact, let's talk about the other Batman movies throughout time now. The 1960s Batman. Yeah, I loved it as a kid. I haven't seen it for a very long time. It has its place. Keaton, here's a hot take. Oh, well, not really a hot take. I love Michael Keaton's Batman. And I would love to see, you know, like a Michael Keaton Batman in the modern age. Not the Flash. Not that shit, but like Michael Keaton as a young man playing Batman with today's technology and filmmaking style would be awesome. His movies, however, I can't stand them. I hate those movies. I know they have their place, and I think nostalgia goggles play a big part in why people like these movies, but I just don't like them. I think there's too much weirdness. The themes, the messages, the stories, everything is just so confused in those Tim Burton movies. I don't like them. I never have. Even as a kid, I was just like, even though I do love Jack Nicholson's death. The Schumacher movies, there's nothing to talk about. They're not good. Neon nightmares. They're just... they're awful. Then that brings us to the Holy Trilogy, my favorite movies of all time. They are my favorite movies of all time. I'm not emphasizing when I say this. I think I've seen Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises each at least 20 to 30 times in my life, if not more. I'm probably keeping that number low, not to embarrass myself. I love those movies. They're everything to me. They are what made me go, I want to make movies. They've got the emotion, the epicness, just everything about those movies to me is why movies are the best thing in our lives. Like, I love them. Batman Begins is like comfort food to me. It's not as intelligent as the next two movies, even though some people would say Rises is a dumb movie. Batman Begins is comfort food. I sit there and I love it. I eat it up. The Dark Knight is incredible. You watch it now, and you sit there and actually take it in for what it is. It's just an incredible movie. Everything about that movie is so ahead of its time and will never be replicated. That movie is something special. And it also proved that Australians are the best actors on the planet with Heath Ledger. Brilliant performance. Like, I love that movie. And The Dark Knight Rises. On any given day, I could say any of these movies are my favorite in the franchise. The Dark Knight Rises is such an epic war movie, such an epic scale, just everything about it is so cool. You know, and it's always pissed me off that people say it's a bad movie and that there's dumb choices in it. I view movies almost on a spectrum where if the movie's doing so much right, it builds up goodwill. That if there's a dumb thing, yeah, sure, it takes away a bit of that goodwill, but I can look past it because everything else is so awesome. The Dark Knight Rises is a movie like that for me. You know, people go on about How did Bruce Wayne fix his back? You know, he got punched and he's all good? Get over it. At least there were some consequences to him hurting his back, breaking his back. If they made a Batman movie today where Bane dropped him on his knee, he'd get up and be fine. So can we just... People just say that to be, you know, contrarian, I reckon. And that leads us to, of course, The Batman. More than 5 minutes into this review, and we're finally talking about The Batman. I was always excited for this movie. Matt Reeves came on, I was like... Well, first of all, context, because we thought we were going to get a Ben Affleck Batman movie for the longest time. I was keen to see it. I loved his portrayal of Batman, Ben Affleck's portrayal in Batman vs Superman. I hated his portrayal in both versions of Justice League. They just felt inferior. I liked that angry, grizzled Batman from Batman vs Superman. Regardless, we didn't get Batfleck Batman. He's too busy picking up his Dunkin' Donuts, so they had to essentially reboot it. Then Matt Reeves casts... I forgot his name. Robert Pattinson. Yeah, Robert Pattinson. And everyone, as always, were crying in the streets. Oh, it's such a terror. How many times does someone get cast in these goddamn superhero roles, everyone cries about it, then the movie comes out and they all shut up? Heath Ledger, Ben Affleck, Robert Pattinson. Can we just... It's like this Superman photo that came out the other week of David Corenswet. Everyone's complaining. Shut up! It will be fine! Actors are cast in these big movies because the director sees something in them that will fit their vision. Trust them. It doesn't always happen, but it's rare that it doesn't. So trust them. Anyway, so yeah, I was pumped for this movie from the get-go. And then we saw that first trailer at the DC Fandome, you know, the one with The Rock hosting, "The hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change." Like, that crap.
The hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change. It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
First trailer blew everyone away. Looked amazing, and apparently they had only shot 25% of the film at that point. So to see this, and know there's so much more to get, oh yeah, good signs. It was exciting. The Batman is probably the last time I was truly hyped for a movie when I went to see it. Because that's 2 years now, and I can't think of a movie where I was like itching to see it like I was this. Before that, it would have been No Way Home. So the Batman really for me is like the last one. And at 3 hours long, it didn't let me down. Not in the slightest. And I want to talk about the length. You know, I have gone on numerous times about movies and lengths lately because it just seems to me directors and studios are becoming indulgent. It's like, oh, Endgame was a massive success. That was 3 hours long. We can do that for every fucking movie now. Furiosa, just last week. The longest, most boring movie I've ever seen. Hated it. The Fall Guy was long, even though I liked that. I mean, there's so many movies that are just long. And it's like, why? Why? I don't need this. No one needs this. But the Batman earns it. And doesn't feel like 3 hours because and this is going to sound wanky, but it transcends the runtime where it is slowly paced in that it lingers on some shots maybe longer than it needs to. It lets conversations play out more naturally and slow instead of cutting it. What this movie does is it wraps up the runtime in great characters, great plot, great score, great cinematography. Like, the essential elements of a movie are all perfectly whisked together in the Batman. So even though it is slow paced, you're sitting there admiring the visuals, admiring the score, feeling the atmosphere, invested in the characters. So you're alright with just sitting there taking it in. And that's what I love about the Batman. The Batman, more so than any Batman movie ever, in my opinion, gets the tone of Batman. Really puts you in that world, that atmosphere. And the atmosphere just comes from the world we see. It's always gloomy, rainy, and It's like that movie Prisoners with Hugh Jackman. The whole movie, it's almost always raining. And rain just embodies that darkness, gloominess, melancholy that is so often associated with Batman. I think it's just the perfect way to deliver this character to an audience. So I guess we can talk about those 4 essential elements of film. What did I say? Cinematography, music, character, and plot. So let's talk about it. Let's go cinematography. Greg Fraser, Australian by the way, who did The Creator, who did Rogue One, who did Dune 1 and 2. Do I need to say more? This guy is an incredible artist. His shots are so precise. Let's say that. Precise, and he never overlights anything. Look at the behind the scenes. There's lights that just need to be there, but it's not too much, you know? It feels real. Everything he photographs feels lived in. Some of the biggest praises Rogue One got was its cinematography and how lived in the world felt. Funny that Greg Fraser was DOP on that. Same with Dune. Everyone talks about how lived in Dune does. Dude. Let me try that again. Everyone talks about how lived in Dune was, not Dune does. Greg Fraser again. They all feel grounded and lived in. Now, is that set design? Or is that a combination of set design and Greg Fraser? I think it's Greg Fraser more than we realize. Cinematography changes a movie completely. It's the best here in The Batman. This is such a beautiful movie from start to finish without feeling like it tries too hard. Roger Deakins once said, and if you don't know who Roger Deakins is, you should, he said that the best cinematography is cinematography you don't notice. And The Batman, while you praise it for its beauty, you just sit there and you're in. You feel like you've gone past the stage, the screen, where you're in the movie. That's what I love so much about the way this movie looks. Music, let's talk about music. I'm a big score guy, you all know that. Remember the not test screening, but the, I guess, costume screen test that was the first thing we saw of this movie, with Pattinson in the suit coming at us in the red light, and we heard that music, like doom, 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 doom. So simple and so effective. This is such a great Batman score. I don't think any composer has ever done a bad Batman score, in my opinion. From Burton, even Schumacher's. I mean, it's not great, but it's memorable. Nolan with Hans Zimmer, and here. Even Ben Affleck's Batman had that really aggressive bum, bum, bum. Like, no one's failed the Batman score ever, and they've all delivered it in a different way. Batman is so universally just loved that he's never been really portrayed terribly on screen except for those Schumacher films. And here, like this score, I can go on. The Hans Zimmer score is brilliant for me. Like, it's epic, it's percussive, I love it. It gets me kind of emotional when I watch those movies now and just think what those movies mean to me. But this score is a little bit more orchestral. You sort of get a little bit more strings, some more emotional beats throughout the film. And then when you need that hard-hitting action, that bum, 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 it comes in. And it's just epic. Every time. When I watched this movie the other night, I'm just like, fuck yeah, let's go. When Batman just starts beating people up and that music kicks in, I'm sitting there, fuck yeah, let's go. I love it. I like Michael Giacchino, what a name, Michael Giacchino a lot. He's a very kind of underrated composer. He's done some brilliant work, like The Incredibles, the Star Treks, I can't think of any more right now, but he's done a lot. He did Rogue One, and I hate the Rogue One soundtrack, but apparently he was brought in like with less than 6 weeks to go. So forgive him for that. Because that soundtrack to me just sounded a lot like a lot of noise, like Star Wars-y, fan filmy sounds. I didn't like that score. This is a man with 3 years to get something together. and it shows. It's not a, I'm gonna listen to this at the gym kind of soundtrack, but it's one of those soundtracks that's instantly iconic and unlike anything in cinema history. Let's talk about the writing. Matt Reeves wrote this movie too, and I love Matt Reeves. I think his movies are all very good. Very good. I just talked about the Planet of the Apes series not too long ago. Dawn and War he did, and just both very good movies. He reminds me of an older style of director that can write and direct and has the confidence just to let his story play as long as it needs to. Especially in War of the Planet of the Apes, you take this goofy franchise that could be a really goofy franchise and he just really grounds it and understands character. And he does that here. The only thing I don't like about this script, and could be direction, could be actor choice, I don't like that Bruce Wayne is seriously sort of emo and reclusive. I don't like that choice. It's a different choice. It doesn't offend me, but I'm like, ooh, I would like that Batman's, I like that his Batman is sort of quiet. I don't want the Bruce Wayne to be that. There's got to be a dichotomy between the two personalities, essentially, of this man. That's the weakest point for me. And if that's the weakest point, then come on. Like, that just tells you how engrossing everything else is. And I'll say engrossing because I don't think the Riddler's plot is as smart as this movie thinks it is. I'll get to that. But it doesn't matter. As I was talking about earlier, the goodwill, just how this script pulls you in, how the characters pull you in, is enough for me. The world building's great with Falcone, the Penguin, all these side characters that obviously are going to play into things later. The Riddler, the small Joker cameo at the end, whatever, I hate it, but whatever, we'll get to that as well. It's a smart script in that it ticks all the boxes it needs to tick. It's got some great lines, it's got great payoffs. It never offends you. It's got funny moments, it's got dramatic moments. It's such, how do I put this? It's an efficient script. It's not the best Batman script, but it's an efficient script. And it just does everything it has to do very well. Now, the things I don't like I said, Bruce Wayne, I don't like the Joker being in this movie in any capacity at all. And I think the Riddler's plot, when you think about it too much, you know, it's hard to do Riddler because, I mean, really, you have to be that intelligent to come up with that intelligent of a plot that the Riddler would do to fool someone as intelligent as Batman. And this movie has riddles and all that, and the riddles are fine, but the grander scheme, you know, bring him into the light, El Rada, whatever that line was that they have in there, the winged bird being the Penguin, or bring actually it's the Falcone, that feels like contrived a little bit, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like oh, click, I would have got that moment, because Falcone is Falcone, not Falcon. Anyway, it just felt a little contrived, and because it's the Riddler, I feel like Matt Reeves was like, it's very clever, and it's not that clever. Whereas like a Joker in The Dark Knight, his plan is clever. He says he doesn't have a plan, he's got a plan. Now that's a smart villain, and a smart script from Nolan. This is nowhere near as smart. I'm trying to think what that fourth aspect was I was talking about. The script, the score, the writing. Did I say characters? That pretty much goes into the writing, but let's talk about the actors and the cast here, like the characters. So yeah, Robert Pattinson is brilliant as Batman and Bruce Wayne. Give him a chance in the sequel, the Bruce Wayne might be different. Like, everyone was shitting on this guy when he was cast, and you just gotta let these people have a chance, like I said. And he comes in here, and I fucking love this Batman. Like this quiet, angry Batman that just kicks ass. I love it. I love his suit, although I could lose the thing on the leg. I love his suit. I would like to see a sleeker, maybe darker upgrade in the sequel. I would love that. This is the package, man. This is like what I want in a Batman. It's perfect to me. And his combat. Remember the scene in the first trailer? Who you supposed to be, huh? I'm vengeance. Like, I was sold from the start. Like that's fucking Batman. I love that. I love that. And then let's talk about Zoe Kravitz. Catwoman, she's good. She's real good. I would have liked to seen a little bit more vulnerability. A little bit. Just a little bit. But that's okay. She's got one hell of a strut on her. You know that scene where she's walking through the nightclub? Geez, she's got a strut on her. She's good. Who else is in this movie? Colin Farrell. Yeah, everyone's talked about this. Unrecognizable. Fantastic. Having a lot of fun. Really like his performance. Paul Dano as the Riddler is one of those casting choices. You're like, oh, okay. And then you see it and you're like, oh, okay. This guy's a creep, a weirdo. And it takes the Riddler from this goofy character. Because let's be honest, the Riddler. That's a goofy name. It's a goofy look. Takes that, throw some shades of the Zodiac Killer on him. Cast Paul Dano. You've got a incel serial killer, essentially. And it's fantastic. I think it's great. The voice, the online presence is cool. Well, that's another criticism I have actually. While we're on the subject, I don't like the third act being Riddler clone battle. I'm fine with it, but I just wish there was a more clever final act. I'll get to it. Riddler, who else is in this movie? I'm drawing a blank right now. Oh, Jim Gordon. What's his name? Fuck. Jeffrey Wright. I love this guy. He's a great actor. I love his Jim Gordon. You know what I love about this movie too? Is the relationship between Jim Gordon and Batman. This actually feels like a friendship. In the Dark Knight trilogy, they don't feel like friends, really. At the end of the day, they feel like work accomplices, work acquaintances. These guys feel like friends in this movie. And Jeffrey Wright's performance is quite campy in a lot of the scenes. I said, get your hands up. Like he's quite campy and I love it. And I love their relationship. The back and forth is inherently funny. And it's like, I don't know, Jeffrey Wright's just such a good performer. And he brings a bit of warmth to this series, and I hope he gets an expanded role in the next one. Even though his role is actually quite big in this movie, I would love to see more of him and see where this franchise could potentially take him. And let's talk about Andy Serkis, of course, as Alfred. I'm mixed. I will admit I'm mixed because I think Michael Caine did such a beautiful job as Alfred in the Dark Knight trilogy. This is a different take. This is a Alfred with a military background, and I'm fine with that. And I'm fine with him being a little more stern and gruff. I just want to see some more softness. I don't know. I just want Alfred to be an old, cuddly man. This is a nitpick. Andy Serkis is brilliant, and he's great in this movie. And again, like Jeffrey Wright, I want to see Alfred take on a bigger role in this franchise. So hopefully they do that with the sequel. And I guess last of all, I'll mention, like this movie really doesn't have a huge cast for what it is for a 3-hour film. It's not a huge sprawling cast, but it's a tight cast. And there is one cameo in this movie, and there's a deleted scene online with the Joker. Barry Keoghan of Saltburn fame plays the Joker, and I'm really mixed on this. I'm really mixed on the Joker in this movie. If they don't cast him in the sequel or going forward and don't use the look that we saw in the deleted scene, because it is deleted, it's not canon, and he's just some random inmate we barely see at the end of the movie, fine. But I don't want this to be the Joker going forward. I hate the Joker being a crazy guy that laughs. I hate that. I hate it. If you watch any Batman fan film, any Joker impersonator, any Joker fan film, anything with the Joker outside of someone with a brain writing the character like Nolan, it just always devolves into, how about a magic trick? I'm gonna put a smile on your face. It's always like he just laughs. Like the Joker's gotta laugh because he's the fucking Joker, and he's gotta have the voice, and he's gotta have the voice. Like, stop it! The Joker doesn't laugh because he laughs. The Joker laughs because he finds what he's doing funny. The Joker wants to destroy civilized society. He's chaos. He likes to fuck with people. That's essentially it. He's not just some madman! I hate when they portray him as a madman or some crazy guy that can't compose himself and be serious. That's why I'm getting a bit heated here, aren't I? But that's why I love Heath Ledger's performance, because behind the persona, behind the Joker personality, you see a guy with a plan, and you see it so many times in Heath Ledger's performance, especially when he shoots or tries to shoot the mayor and shoots Gordon in the back. When he's not wearing the makeup, you see this man, he is angry that he missed his shot. This is a man, and we're talking about Heath Ledger's Joker, with a plan, serious, wants to destroy society, take down government, destroy the idea of a Batman. And he's doing a damn good job in that movie because he wins at the end of the day. The fear I get seeing Barry Keoghan's Joker in his small scene is, he's putting on a funny voice and he's doing the he's laughing because he's gonna laugh. I hate it. And then that deleted scene, we actually get to see a little bit more of his look, like he's so ugly. You can't put that on screen and expect people to, you've got to want to watch your villains. This Joker just, to me, was like, this is not someone I could ever want to watch. And as far as I'm concerned, we've got too much Joker going on. If this franchise never touches Joker, I'm fine with that. Batman has so many villains to use different villains. I don't need to see the Joker. And unless you're doing him right, don't do it. And I think I've been talking for long enough. We've been talking for half an hour. What I'll do now, before I let you go, you can go anytime you want. It's not like I can physically hold you. This is a YouTube video. I want to just talk about the things that stand out to me in this movie. Just, final thoughts. I almost said Pattinson. Pattinson's Batman, I think, is brilliant. I love his voice most of all, like the quiet, reserved Batman. Brilliant. The look of this movie is outstanding. I love the scenes where you just get to see the action play out. It's one of those things I wish Nolan did better, was action. His action is sloppy, admittedly. I recognize that. I'm not a Nolan blind fanboy. The action, the hand-to-hand action, I'll say, in the Dark Knight trilogy kind of sucks. Here it's mid shots, wide shots, played out, no shaky camera. So, bellissimo, beautiful. Now, while I criticized it before the third act, I do love it. I do love that this movie sets up like a Gotham as a flooded war zone. It reminds me of Arkham City. Did anyone play the Arkham games? I'm sure a lot of you did. That is like quintessential Batman as well. Oh, rest in peace, Kevin Conroy. And Rocksteady now. But in Arkham City, all of Gotham's most wanted and all the gangs are in this one city, and all the gangs get separated and Batman can traverse anywhere he needs to, go to whoever he needs to use them to get to someone else. Really great setup for a story. And the fact that the Batman sets up Gotham to be this desolated, drowned, flooded war zone at the end. You've got the Penguin looking to take power. Who else is going to rise up from the flooded waters of Gotham? That's really exciting for a sequel, and I love that this movie did it. In saying so, that's where you get that third act sort of low point for me, which is the clones of Riddler. I find it quite bizarre that, and I get it. You need to have an action scene at the end where Batman fights everyone, and a lone serial killer, Batman is not going to fight him. Especially how this movie's structured where the Riddler is captured sort of towards the end of the second act. So what do? Well, this is what they came up with. And look, I don't hate it, but it feels, out of everything that they did so well and was so thought out, it feels like the weakest, laziest point of the film where they just thought, it'll do this. It kind of ruined the intelligence of the plot because someone like me thinks, oh, so the Riddler had a social media following. How did no one know about this? How did no one pick up on this, the police or Batman? How was none of the Riddler followers ever interrogated, tracked their IP address, tracked Riddler's IP address? I'm not a detective. I don't know how IP addresses and internet tracking works, but there would have been a way. I feel like there would have been a way. Regardless. Weak point. Oh, something random. When Zoe Kravitz goes into the Iceberg Lounge, she's sort of doing recon for Batman, and he's watching from across the street, and he's got this massive contraption to follow her and track her. I love how campy that is. You would think in the modern age Batman would have an iPad or some tablet and just watch. But he's got like this really ratchety, massive, complicated setup, and he's just like punching things and turning dials. I love that. I don't know why they did that, but I love that. It's almost schlocky, but it's like, it's really funny. And I don't know what more to talk about. I don't need to talk about more. I love this movie from start to finish. I don't think it ever feels like 3 hours. It goes quick. It's beautiful to look at. It's beautiful to listen to. The acting is great. The setup for a sequel is fantastic. If we never got a sequel and this was a one-off, it tells its story. You don't need more. It's not so open-ended that it ruins this movie, but it just leaves that door open just in case. I can't wait for the sequel. That will be my most anticipated movie of this decade. Oh, maybe not of this decade, but of the next 5 years, is The Batman Part 2. If Matt Reeves is allowed to do what he wants, I have complete faith that movie will be epic too. Fingers crossed, everyone. Woo! And that's it. That's The Batman. What did you think of The Batman? Please like and subscribe. Do it. Don't make me beg. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.